welcome to Who's Behind the Camera. I'm Tanya and this is Vlad.
Today we are joined by a successful assistant director who has worked behind the set of Ruth, Star Wars and Big Brother. Let's give a round of applause for David Underwood.
So, would you like to talk to us about how it was working on such a big iconic franchise like Star Wars?
It was incredible. I was just overwhelmed on my first day with the set of how big it was, and stormtroopers and aliens. And I've been on many sets over the years, but this was probably one of the coolest, you know, with all the vehicles. And obviously I'm not allowed to talk too much about the plot line, but there are stormtroopers in Star Wars, which is not exactly a spoiler. It was Andor season 2, and it's not finished yet. They've still got some bits to shoot next year, but it was great. And I was with lots of people I knew as well, team-wise, because I'm an assistant director. The team that I work with, we gelled very well because the hours are very long. We were leaving the house at 4 in the morning, spending several hours getting the guys ready, the SAs ready, the crowd, and then shooting for a long period of time, sort of 8-9 hours, and then de-rigging them in the evening. So it was you're talking about 14-hour days.
It's a very long day then.
It's a very long day.
Very early wake-ups.
But the camaraderie of everybody getting together and doing it, you know, by the end of day 5, you're like soldiers in the trenches. But it was great, and I would definitely do it again. And you know, it's kind of the pinnacle. It's one of the biggest productions I've ever worked on.
So going back to your graduation in 2012, did you have any plans for your career path?
So I was at a kind of a crossroads, like most third years. I mean, you've been in this environment at university, and I don't know if I hadn't particularly done much work experience, so I was coming to the end, and I was running Radio Lab with a team of other students as my final project, which was a practical element, which was, you know, felt like I was working because we were going in every day and running the schedules. But I didn't have a plan, is the answer really. And I'd started to think about applying for sort of 3 counties and other kind of radio stations, because I thought that was the path I wanted to go on to, you know, maybe some internships. But then a friend of mine who graduated the year before me had already started working in the industry on Big Brother. And the first iteration, not the newest one, but it was on Channel 5. And I got a phone call, and she was like, somebody's dropped out. Do you want to be a runner? And this was sort of May time. And you know, when you're graduating, your dissertation goes in around about May. I think I was about to finish. My graduation wasn't until July. So I ended up, very luckily, because I knew somebody who was a good friend who'd done kind of all the hard work by getting in herself. She got me a full-time position on Big Brother starting like the next week, and it was great, and it was a full-time job. And then after that, another program came along, and before you know it, the sort of the radio side had gone really, and it's been.
It was a great opportunity.
It was a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah.
I was one of the only people allowed into the house when the housemates were asleep.
Wow, that must have been big.
I would take the bins out, and you know, when the tasks are done, I would take them away, and then they do a shopping task. I would be the one that went to Tesco's and bought it. It was a real, from straight out of uni to that kind of environment, I felt very blessed because, you know, that summer is when a lot of students are worried about what to do next.
Yeah.
And I was quite lucky to land onto something quite exciting straight away.
So you've just mentioned the fact that you worked in radio, and then, so you did radio here at UOB, and then you went to straight onto Big Brother as a runner, as you've just said. Was there any skills that you took from radio that you then used on when you're on Big Brother as a runner?
Absolutely, timekeeping and you know, people as well. Like obviously, as a student, you are still learning, but with Radio Lab and with my final year there, we were in charge of a schedule, and if the programs didn't go out, then the radio station would be, you know, dead air, they call it, and that's terrible. So it was our responsibility, and with that responsibility, it makes you want to try, and that stood me in good stead for when I went into a working environment. It was a nice little segue, but it's a different ball game when you get into the professional environment, because you've got celebrities and high up execs, and you know, people expect a lot, and when you're in the entry role, it doesn't mean you're least important. Sometimes the stuff you do is really, really important. When I first started out on Take Me Out, which is a dating show at the time, after Big Brother, at the end of the shoot day, a big studio day like this, where all those thousands of hours of work had gone into making a program, I would then get the rushes, the DVDs and discs, the pure raw copy of the show, drive it across London to the ITV building where they would then put it in and then broadcast it. So at that point,
it's a very big job.
well, at that point, I've got everybody's hard work in my car and I'm driving there. So might have been an entry-level role, but I was definitely an important cog in the machine.
Yeah, but driving that must have felt very important for you.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at the time I was, it was part of the role, but looking back, I'm like, wow, that was actually quite a lot of trust,
Yeah. So you worked as a runner. Was there a moment where you thought, this job is not for me?
There's real hard times. There's really with the hours. That's the adjustment. Going from Radiolab was a full-time thing, but when you go into productions where the hours are 14, 15 hours, that was tough. But I worked in non-scripted live entertainment shows, and then I had a taste of drama where like film sets. And that was when I realised I didn't really want to work in the live shows. I wanted to work on the dramas. It was for many different reasons. One of the reasons was I wanted to work on something that people would watch more than once, and another one was just the roles are more focused.
Yeah.
You have on the VT teams of programs like Take Me Out and Strictly Come Dancing, you've got like maybe one or two people doing a lot of things, whereas in scripted dramas, you've got there's a lot more hierarchy.
You also ventured on to creating, to basically be producing The Adventures of Maid Marian. So whilst doing that, what was the difference between obviously you being a producer compared to an assistant director?
Well, it's the main thing is seniority. A producer is almost as high as you can get, apart from the financiers and the people who've paid for it. But so it's that really. It's progression. Most people get into a profession to rise as high as they possibly can. Producing is a lot higher than an assistant director. That was one of the bonuses. But it was a lot smaller budget compared to the things I usually work on. So there are two different worlds in the same kind of, it's the same principle, but you're dealing with a lot less money, a lot less people. But it's almost like training to be a producer, almost is what I felt like. But it did really well. It was a really good opportunity, and it got released around the world.
Sounds quite good.
Yeah, it's a great film.
I remember seeing the trailer for it, and as soon as I saw the trailer, I was like, yes, I definitely want to watch this because
it's a low budget. The production value. We put a lot of our effort onto the screen. So everybody pitched in. People were pulling a lot of favours, and we were very resourceful, but the end product is great, and that's why the people who paid for it and distributed it, they decided to release it in America, Canada, Europe, the Middle East, on many platforms as well, like Virgin, Sky, Google. So that's a very proud moment, and I'd hope to replicate it again. There's another film we produced. I assistant produced that. I wasn't as high up on that because I couldn't take as much time off, but that's coming out next year, I believe. It's a World War II film. Still low budget, but all the fantastic people. They're all industry professionals that come together and
you have to let us know about that. I definitely want to see it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So you just finished working on Ruth, which is a miniseries that comes out in 2024. What was it like for you to work for a drama series as opposed to a film?
They're slightly smaller usually. I mean, you get some TV series that are huge, like Game of Thrones or that kind of thing. But with Ruth, they're smaller, but it was with a team I really enjoy working with, and the story was very compelling. They're very I know they're smaller, but they're similar for film and drama. It's more the fact that they're episodic as opposed to just one big script.
So you have time to kind of expand the story.
With Ruth, I wasn't on all the time. I was only there specifically when there was background of more than about 20 people. My main role is usually as I've explained before, there's two different roles of assistant directors. There's crowd and then there's floor. Floor is more across all the departments. You're the voice, the conduit of all the departments, because otherwise you've got 100 crew members all standing around going, what do we do? What are we filming? Whereas you need somebody to run it, similar to a floor manager or an ALM. Whereas with crowd, you do get involved, but you only really focus on what the crowd need and what the continuity of the crowd is. Crowd or essays we call them.
Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today.
Yeah. Next week we will be joined by another special guest, which has worked on behind the set of Stranger Things. Join us to find out how Vecna came to be, and hopefully we won't have any grandfather clocks pop around.
So thank you for joining us today, David, and we will see you next week, and thank you for watching. See you next time.
Thank you.